Welcome back to another episode of Tech Pro Unicorn Podcast. I am your host, Michael Grace. I am super excited about my guest today. Today, I am joined by Justin Rhedrick. Justin is all about the Bitcoin. So we're going to talk about a request that I have gotten over and over and over again, which is Bitcoin. But in addition to that, Justin has just the coolest story. And I'm going to share a little bit of an intro about Justin. It's really cool that he's put all this out there so that we can all learn and grow from Justin's personal story, as well as gain from the knowledge he's going to lay down. So Justin is Bitcoin's best kept secret. Has just been let out of the bag. Justin's been buying Bitcoin since 2016 when it cost just $626. That's crazy. If you look at what it's at today. 2 years after coming home from prison, Justin first discovered Bitcoin. He was looking for work, trying to find his way as a new entrepreneur, when his friend Isaiah introduced him to this powerful new currency. When Bitcoin's value skyrocketed to $20,000, which it's well beyond that now, Justin realized for the first time that Bitcoin was a solid opportunity. He went on to work odd jobs around Charlotte in retail and even hard labor to save up and purchase Bitcoin. At first, Justin used Bitcoin as a savings account, life insurance, and investment to grow himself and his business. Then, when the price of Bitcoin fell, Justin decided to invest in his personal growth. He wanted to transform himself into a better businessman and be more productive in the world, so he devoted himself to studying Bitcoin. He learned the technical financial systems that make Bitcoin what it is. He learned how to manage a budget and implement the processes needed to become a successful entrepreneur and high-achieving person. During those bear market years, Justin became a performance coach, learned how to help make people better versions of themselves. In 2020, Justin launched his very first in-person course where he taught a group of women run by Sabrina Abraham of the Money Tribe Real Estate Group. By the end of the year, the group had amassed more than $100,000 in Bitcoin savings. Since then, Justin has helped thousands of people around the world learn the true nature and power of Bitcoin, from appreciation to decentralization. Justin was also part of the first 1% of the global population to buy Bitcoin when it was valued less than $1,000. He's since reached 1,000% return on investment with his initial Bitcoin buys. He's now looking to impact the world and change lives with the true power of Bitcoin. I want to also point out that Justin is an author. He has a book, From Bars to Bitcoin. It's also out and available on his website, which is bitcoinvegan.com. All those links will be down below. But welcome, Justin. Thank you for taking the time to be part of the podcast.
Hey, man. How you doing? Thanks for having me on. It's great to be here.
Awesome. You have a hell of a story. One that's just a feel-good story of, what could have been a tragic story turned extremely positive. Crypto is such a hot topic right now. Cryptocurrency, Bitcoin being probably the largest one out there. But now it seems like there's thousands, right? Somebody was like, "Oh, you run the Tech Pro Unicorn. Do you invest in Uni?" And I'm like, "Uni? What the heck is Uni?" And they're like, "Oh, the symbol for Uni is a unicorn. You got to buy some." I'm like, "I ain't buying some crypto nonsense just because it's got a unicorn picture." But there's so many. How did you get into it? Just maybe share a little bit more. Like, how are you making sense of all this?
Okay. Well, first things first, again, thanks for having me on, man. It's a pleasure. I want to do something special for, your listeners on. So I don't know if you're on LinkedIn. You can follow me at Justin Rhedrick. I'm sure, like I said, all of these will be in the description below. But whatever your social media is, whether it's LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, just send me the post free guide, and I will send you my free Bitcoin guide that you can see how to really properly secure your Bitcoin. And if you haven't gone down the rabbit hole, this might be an introduction. So you say, how do I make sense of it all? Or is that what you wanted me to start with first? What did you want me to start with?
Yeah. Like how you figured it out. You're talking about it. You're speaking about it. You're writing about it. How did you figure it out? I was sharing before the podcast. Like, my wife's like, asked me. She was like, "What is this Bitcoin stuff?" I'm like, I don't know, but Justin's coming on, and Justin's going to help me with that.
So I mean, I made sense of it all, man, because number one, where I was in life, like you read, I was just coming home from prison. I was home like a year and a half, and ironically, matter of fact, I can't even say it was ironically. I remember I was walking outside with my little girl, and I just said, "Man, I need something to happen in my life that's going to change the world. But if you're early, you could, you could pay off just by being early." I really wholeheartedly felt I missed the big tech boom where everybody was hopping into tech. I was way behind in my idea because let's see, the internet really took off in like the mid '90s, 2000 came along. I missed that jump, but when I learned about Bitcoin, and it was ironic because I found out about Bitcoin. Let's see, my granddaddy had a miner, and he got scammed out of that miner. So he wasn't mining Bitcoin, but he tried to buy it. Um, I had gotten scammed out of some money, but my friend Isaiah Jackson, he was really big in it. And I said, "Well, Zay's a good guy. He's a real good guy. So what's going on here?" And that was the day I noticed. I said, "Well, if people are doing this with it, it has to have some value." So what really opened me up to it, to be honest, man, I needed an opportunity, and I wanted to know. I wanted to change the world. And I knew, like, from reading books in prison about people who built up their own empires, that if you're going along with the crowd, you're only going to get the results that the crowd get. So during that time, Bitcoin's like 7 years old. Everyone was, telling me I needed to focus on something that I knew about, telling me to do what they felt I could do with my circumstances. But I learned about myself in prison, and I learned that my most powerful skill is learning and applying. Some call it perseverance. So I said, well, if that's what it's going to take to get here and to make moves, so let's go with Bitcoin. I mean, it was the odd man out. The tech actually made sense to a degree at that time, and so it was the purpose. It was the purpose and the opportunity that led me to be like, this is a good decision, and I'm here to dedicate time to that decision.
I love it. You made just you did what most people don't do, right? Unfortunately, which is come out of that hard situation, which I can't even relate to how hard that must have been to be in that situation. But and then you came out and you started not only setting yourself on a different path for your family, but you started helping people around you, helping them understand and grow. Much like as I had shared with you, you started giving back as well. Um, why? Like, talk maybe about that part of the journey.
Well, one thing I knew, like I learned in prison, that it's best to, it's best to try to provide value. Um, when I was really looking at everything coming home, and I remember reading books, and it's basically like you have to provide a certain level of value that people can feel could change their lives. And I was just like, all right, cool. So when I learned about Bitcoin, I'll be honest, I used to do like wallet setups for people for like $20. Like, I'll show you how to set up a wallet. But they were so grateful
Mm-hmm.
because it's like this thing they never had any type of thought to, or like how to use, or they heard about it, they didn't know it was real. So bringing that reality to people, to have someone say like, you're the first person who ever taught me anything about Bitcoin, is going to mean something forever. And so I knew that was providing some type of a solution. I knew that was providing some type of hope, and that from that very base level, I didn't really want people to be excluded. I wanted to be like, man, hey, you should do this. You try this. You try this. You try this. And a lot of people didn't take on. Some did, but the intention was like my intention was to be like, hey, I'm just starting this out. I don't know much, but I'm here committed, and if you want to go this path together, we can. And whatever ups and downs we go through, we go through. A lot of people jumped off that train. However, it was just all about trying to provide as much value and solutions to people, because this was people in my community, like that still lived in those type of neighborhoods. So who else was going to bring that type of? No one else was bringing that type of those type of solutions, those type of tech, those type of innovations to my neighborhood, or my community. So I said, well, let's throw it out here in the community and see what we get back. I always had a goal of not to be a product of my environment, but my environment be a product of me.
I love that. That's your whole story is about flipping the story, right? I mean,
Hmm.
you're just you didn't accept kind of what was perhaps the norm, and you just changed the storyline.
Right. Yeah.
And you're right. Wall Street isn't actively, well, Wall Street's not where crypto lives, but the crypto community, right, isn't going into the underprivileged neighborhoods and teaching and educating. And it does have to be a bit of a groundswell, I think, if folks are going to learn about this and take heart. And a lot of people tell me all the time, like, oh, yeah, the crypto, they're too late, right? Like that bus has already left. And I'm
Oh,
like,
okay.
think about the number of people that still don't have any idea what the
Exactly.
hell crypto is. Like
Hmm.
I even though Bitcoin's, well, who knows what it's at today, right? Because it's having its share of little fluctuations right now, but
Yeah.
it sure as hell ain't at $600. So I think there's still plenty of opportunity, right, for people to jump into
Amen.
crypto and make smart investments. Don't take all your 401k and dump it into crypto, maybe, but there's still an opportunity there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, a lot of times people say, and this is what I really work with, and ironically, I work with a lot of cybersecurity pros and tech pros around this, because in my idea, there's too much tech talent out there just to be in regular tech. I feel kind of like how LeBron James did to Miami. You need to bring your talents to Bitcoin, but I don't really. You're right though. No one is too late. What's ironic is people would tell me, when we're meeting with potential clients or businesses, they say, I feel like I missed the boat. It's too late. But then they say, well, Justin, I don't know anybody that accepts Bitcoin. And I say, well, that's your indication you're early. No one's accepting Bitcoin. No one around you that you trust, that you look up to in a professional way or whatever, they can't give you great insight on Bitcoin. Government is just now opening their minds up to Bitcoin, and again, no one's accepting it. So if these five things are happening, that shows you how early you truly are. So if I can take the numbers a bit differently, so on this one website, it says like we have like 100 million Bitcoin wallets. And then on that website, it's called buybitcoinworldwide.com. So it says like it's 100 million Bitcoin wallets, but the average user, the average Bitcoiner might have 5 wallets. You might have a node, one on your cell phone, Cash App, somebody's on an exchange, someone has a cold storage wallet. So that takes the number probably down to 40 million people. Of those 40 million people, and that's just owning any amount of Bitcoin or Satoshis, as we call it, any amount. Of those 40 million people, it's probably 100,000 of those or less who have any real sufficient knowledge on Bitcoin. So when you get real down to the numbers, out of 8 billion people on the planet, you only have probably about 100,000 who know what they're talking about and 20 million who actually hold it. So we have another 7.980 billion some people on the planet who aren't really, understanding it. So like when we look at it, like you said, by users, because I forgot, I think Wells Fargo came out. Well, I put it on my LinkedIn. They had an adoption curve line showing that Bitcoin is like with users right there where the internet is in 1999. So Wells
Wow.
Fargo predicts hyper adoption taking place very soon. So it's just a matter of time, man. And some people aren't. We're kind of like with Bitcoin when Netflix was still sending out CDs in the mail.
I remember that, my little red and white Tyvek envelopes. Yeah, and you'd be like, man, I want to watch that movie. Where's my
Yeah,
shipment?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
So
popping into it.
that's where we are in my opinion. We're still in the we're in the phase of dial up wall connections before we get to cell phones with Bitcoin. So you're still majorly early, man, majorly early. It's just about taking advantage, learning from the correct people, and knowing those people who can separate the noise from the facts. That's all I do is separate the noise from the facts.
I love it. All your examples, dial up and such. I live those, so it's like striking a little deep right now, but that's all right. That's all right. I had a Commodore 64 that was connected to my phone line that made that crazy sound that, when it was dialing with my modem, something else we don't have anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Like, see, now
yeah.
you're just looking at it. People live in disruption and evolution all the time in tech, and this is just the next level.
I love it. You mentioned that it's not widely accepted yet. We have this guy, right, Elon Musk, who just loves to. I'm going to use a bad word, so if you're under 18, close your ears. He just likes to fuck with people. I think part of
Yeah.
him, and he's just like, watch what I can do to the Ethereum markets, and
Hmm.
he's like, and he just says stuff or tweets stuff and the market goes insane off one dude. Granted, he's Elon Musk, right? But then he announces, oh, you can pay for Tesla accessories with crypto. And
Hmm.
everyone's like, what? What? Like Tesla is accepting crypto. How can one guy, influence the market so much?
Well, in Bitcoin, we see this often. We actually accept this type of market manipulation because it makes the price of Bitcoin just tank. I remember in 2017 when Jamie Dimon, the president, CEO of JP Morgan, he went out on a limb and said something crazy about Bitcoin. The price tanked. Elon Musk, he accepted Bitcoin, then he went to the other routes. But sometimes, in my opinion, it's just people playing with their role of power. I mean, if you could try it, try it. I'm not sitting here saying that I wouldn't say something that'll make Bitcoin tank, but you're in the free open market. That's what happens when you're in the free market space, a decentralized space. But however, that just deals with price sentiment. And sometimes people and like I say, this is why I really work with tech people to separate the noise because people come to you all the time, and you're like that gateway. It's like he can say that about the price sentiment might drop, but Bitcoin technology goes absolutely nowhere. Like the people say, "Yo, what's wrong with Bitcoin? Oh my God, the price is going down." I'll look at my node, I'll look at my Lightning node, look at the blockchain. Nothing is wrong. It's just a price moving action, and that freaks with people a bit because you're not used to seeing the value of something go up and down that much. But if you hold real estate and let's just say a murder happens in your neighborhood, what you gonna think is gonna happen to the value of that property for the next few months?
Right.
But you don't get to see that. You don't get to see that out there. Or like with inflation, the only way you get to see that with the gas prices going crazy. But once people start seeing that, they'll realize how they've been living in this volatile price fluctuation for a long time. And then it just gets down to the value of what's being provided. So it's just Elon being Elon, in our opinion.
Okay. Okay. I like that. Um, yeah. My wife will sometimes be like, did you see what Elon posted about blah, blah, blah? And I'm like, or more recently, right? You talk about pricing fluctuations, the stock market, right? Which is kind of comparable. It's based on a valuation of a company theoretically,
Mhm.
but like Facebook, right? Facebook is going insane right now. It's down, it's up, it's huge swings. Um, and my son happens. Those of you that listen know my son works for Meta. Um,
Oh wow.
and it, my wife's like, oh my gosh, is he going to need to find a different job and I'm like, no,
No.
nobody at Facebook Meta cares what the stock price is doing, right? They're just like, because this is business as usual. They're still getting ad
Mhm.
revenue. They're still getting, it's just what you said, right? It's
Mhm.
price sentiment. People feel like Facebook did something and one bump in the night, it drops $100 a share. And if you're not smart enough to buy it when it does that, because it's going
Hmm.
right back up,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Like
know,
Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google. I don't even really participate in stocks. I might buy one now just to see, but I mean, like you said, they're not going nowhere. They're
yeah.
not going nowhere.
The
They're here.
exception to that might be AOL. I think AOL is kind of on its way out, but they got bought by Time Warner, so that's
Oh man, I
awesome.
remember having an AOL. See, look how we just bring up old tech. It just you remember it. It's there now. We like, for instance, when I had gone to prison, it was just Yahoo. Like everybody was talking Yahoo, Yahoo, Yahoo. I come
Wow.
home in 2014, Google. It's only Google, and I was like, I didn't see. I remember Google was not. People weren't using Google as a search engine. It was Yahoo. But then all of a sudden, it's Google. Like that's what happens in this place.
I'm going to date myself and share a story. Right when I grew up in the Silicon Valley in San Francisco, uh, born in '66. Right, so I was high school age in the '80s, graduated in '85, looking for what to do. All my friends and the tech boom is like happening. Right, it's
Hmm.
computers. Everything's just getting created. Companies are moving from paper to computers. And I had a buddy was like, yeah, this internet thing. And there's this company and we're going to like pull all this information together and people can search and look through the information. I'm like a library. And they're like, yeah, like a library online, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't know, man. I'm out on that. I was working in retail. That was my opportunity to be in the first 20 employees of Yahoo, and I didn't take it. And then my other buddy who went to work for the startup, and they said, "Yeah, we're going to hook these computers up together, and they're all going to talk to each other and share information." And I was like, "Hey, yeah, I'm out on that too."
Hmm.
Well, that became networking, computer networking, and yeah, that was my opportunity to be part of another huge corporation in the early stages, less than employee 100. So I missed both of those, right? To your point of like when you enter a market or a field.
However, however, you're early to Bitcoin.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
early to Bitcoin. So, and the thing is with that, people think, oh man, a lot of times people think it's just they're late because they're eyeing it like a stock or they're eyeing it like a corporation. And I've heard a lot of mega billionaires who own companies that really can't understand, like, well, I built this company, I built this company, I built this, we've done this, we've gone public, we've done this. And
Hmm.
the thing that's really that they're not making a connection on is you built a company, but you never built a currency, right? So you're a part of this is a whole entire currency that has a tech that backs the currency. So when people say you're not late to Bitcoin, trust me, there's still some billion users out there that you let's look at it like this. Apple has not yet started accepting Bitcoin. That's how early you are. There's only one tech company that has even accepted Bitcoin for payment, and that's Tesla. So that's how early you are. Uber, Netflix, nobody's accepting it. And just even not even buying Bitcoin, but having knowledge on it. Everyone who's listening, if you feel like you've missed working for Google, you missed working for a fame company, hell, just come to Bitcoin. We can teach you up, we can educate you, and then you can take that same knowledge you have in tech. You'll see where it is in Bitcoin, and just go. Because a lot of times people have a lot of brain fog. They don't understand that the noise you're hearing from your friends who are heavily, heavily smart, intelligent, built mega businesses in Silicon Valley, very impressive. However, they still fall under the 99% of people who don't know anything about Bitcoin. So it's still a great opportunity out there.
I love it. Bitcoin, some people look at it and they're like, this thing's already at like $30,000, right? Let's just say, I have no idea what it's at today. It's between 30 and 40 or 45 recently, right? It's had some pretty
Mhm.
big swings. Um, would you still suggest like it's probably like the Apple of crypto, right? It's like the well-known thing. It's Bitcoin. It's the banner cryptocurrency out there. But there's like 100 other cryptos. There's cryptos. I saw a crypto that was, I think it was like Pluto or something, and it was like less than a penny, so much less than a penny that there were so many damn leading zeros on this thing. It was like 0.00000142223, and I'm like, wow, for like $10 you could get thousands of shares of this. Who knows what the hell this crypto is? Do you think, just in your opinion, right? Not offering financial advice to anyone out there,
Correct.
but
Yeah.
is it still smarter to be in the main game, which is Bitcoin, or to like spot yourself on some of these unknowns and the chance that they become Ethereum or something and pop?
Well, let's say this. Of course, like you said, this isn't financial advice. I'm going to say something that might shock you all listening. It might hurt someone's feelings. They might say, I'm done with this podcast. Ethereum is a failed project. Okay. Why is it a failed project? And why am I saying this? Yeah, I'm a Bitcoin. However, the principles Bitcoin built on is what makes the $30,000 relatively a low number.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the $300 you would spend on Pluto to get X amount of coins will still serve you better in Bitcoin due to, how do I say this, the compound annual growth. Now, basically, that means Bitcoin has an appreciation of at least 200% over the past decade. Now, I've been in this space 6 years. I helped build a powerful podcast called The General Crypto. And one of the things early on I did was have to research all the altcoins in 2016, 2017. And I have actually a graph that shows only three of those coins are even around now. So that I go to say this, that you're better off buying Bitcoin. It's the best performing asset
Mm-hmm.
due to how the tech is built. One of the main things about the technology of Bitcoin, and this kind of freaks a lot of my cybersecurity pros out there, that it's already 100% decentralized. So you don't have to build any other type of decentral. I mean, you can build on top, you can do whatever, but it's already 100% decentralized. And within that, when it comes to other cryptocurrencies, you're really not dealing with sound money. This is what some people who might be in fintech, who's an economist, might understand is in the sound money. What you're buying on those other platforms is kind of like placing a bet in Las Vegas. All right. You can hope, you can hope, you can hope, you can hope. I've seen people, I've educated people, they'll tell me I'm in these Discord chats, I'm in these Slack groups, and they're showing us this coin, this coin, this coin, this coin. However, those coins are bringing no real value. They're almost about to be investigated by the SEC. And more importantly, you're falling for what they call a pump and dump scheme. So what that is kind of like you said, it has crazy amount of zeros
Yeah.
behind the decimal with the next number. So that entices you to think, do what you said. Like, oh man, I can get all of these for these shares. Like it's kind of like playing the penny stock game, but in stocks, you actually have to provide value.
Yep.
Like there are rules you have to go by to
Mm-hmm.
provide that value for that penny stock to actually mean something. In crypto, you're playing a dangerous game because I've seen people put in 100,000 on this coin here, it get locked up forever. There's a coin right now under investigation by the SEC. People have money locked up there, and they're hoping that it just goes away, that the lawsuit goes away. However, in Bitcoin does not have that. There is no central point of authority like Ethereum has a head, Vitalik Buterin. Most of your cryptocurrencies have someone to represent that coin. So it's kind of like a company. And again, people can do what they want. You can do what you want. However, Justin Rhedrick only buys Bitcoin. Now, that's
Oh
not
wow.
financial advice. And if you want to go deeper on the tech, we can. But I only buy Bitcoin based upon the problems it solves in the real world, how the tech operates, and it has a proof of work algorithm. So is built off the real principles of what builds wealth. And that's why you'll see a lot of SEC and companies say, oh, well, we're going out the blockchain, we're going out the cryptos. They'll say those words specifically, but they will not include Bitcoin in the paperwork because they've already know that Bitcoin is pretty much unstoppable by now.
Awesome. The the mining of Bitcoin, right? Which people buy all these rigs, right? People are hoarding graphics cards and all this computing power. And as a gamer, I'm pretty annoyed by all these people that are hoarding all my graphics cards and driving the price of graphics cards up. But then I invest in Nvidia and I make out on the other end, so that's okay. So hoard all the graphics cards. You're making me rich, but what I don't understand. Maybe you could explain this whole mining of Bitcoin. Like I can go to an exchange and I can buy Bitcoin and I can trade and sell Bitcoin, but some people are out there, dimming the lights in their neighborhood because they've built these mining farms in their garage, to mine Bitcoin. Does it make sense? How hard is it to mine Bitcoin?
Well, one thing is for sure with mining Bitcoin, like they have, like back in the day, it was on the graphic cards, like very, very early on when Satoshi, this is going to be a little bit of a history lesson. When Bitcoin
Okay.
was first mined, Satoshi Nakamoto was the only person mining Bitcoin. He could do so on a laptop. As more users came to the network, the difficulty of mining started, increasing. So we are going to the GPUs. They tried also a technique called FGPA. They didn't really hold out well, but now we're on to ASIC miners, which is what the people use to build up rigs in their their garages and farms and whatever. So when it comes to mining Bitcoin,
Uh-oh.
what happens
Looks
is
like we
like,
might have lost Justin
am I there?
briefly as he was explaining how to mine Bitcoin.
Can you hear me?
We'll see if we can get Justin back here in a second.
Can you hear
He's
me?
given us a history lesson on the mining of Bitcoin. And then I see him trying to get back. He's trying hard to get back. And we did have a little tech hiccup there. We've been talking about tech, and our tech just went bump in the night. So Justin's back. He was giving us a little bit of a history around mining Bitcoin. So Justin, if you'd like to continue, it's back to you.
Yeah. So when it comes to it, like we use these ASIC miners now to mine. I don't necessarily mine myself. I'm working alongside a company called Compass Mining, and they bring mining solutions to the everyday person. And what we're doing is in this program I'm creating for returning citizens to come into Bitcoin and learn Bitcoin skills. They'll be working with Compass Mining. But essentially, mining is where the creation of Bitcoin happens, and that happens using what was created called the proof of work algorithm. And we're on the tech podcast, I'll get a little technical. So, where your computer is solving an algorithmic equation, you're trying to find the lowest possible number, and there's this big race. You have all of these millions and millions upon millions of miners trying to solve this one equation. And when the miner, so let's say you and I, we're on the same like mining. It's called the Tech Unicorn miner pool. You might get started there. But what happens is like, so it'll be a group of us. We'll all be like putting our network and our hash power towards mining Bitcoin, towards solving the equation. If we win the block, we'll win the block reward of 6 Bitcoins. Now what that happens is that allows us to process Bitcoin transactions into the network. So we're creating Bitcoin, we're putting new Bitcoin out there so that people can buy Bitcoin or do whatever, and these transactions are being put into the blockchain. So, and this happens on average every 10 minutes. Now, it could be one time it take 20, it take 30, but once you average it all out, it happens every 10 minutes. So 6.25 Bitcoins are being mined and brought to the world every 10 minutes, every single day until 2024, where we have the halving. And instead of 6.25 Bitcoins being put out every 10 minutes, we will be down to divide that by two, it'd be down to like 3 point something. So, so what's happening is when Bitcoin first started, every 10 minutes, 50 Bitcoins would be brought to market. They'll be mined. Now, for 4 years, from 2008, 2012, you have 25. From 2012 to 2016, you have 12.5. Now we're in the age of 6.25 Bitcoin. So the mining is what keeps Bitcoin decentralized. It's an autonomous, automated issuance of Bitcoin. The total opposite, and this is where I say Bitcoin solves financial issues, it's the total opposite of what we saw in 2020 when they put in monetary policy that inflated the money because you brought too many dollar bills to the market with no value. With Bitcoin, we actually decreased the amount of Bitcoins that were brought to the market in 2020, which then allows for smaller chunks of Bitcoin to be distributed, but that makes the price more valuable because of the scarcity aspect of Bitcoin. So, yeah, it felt good to be able to go that deep with people. That I don't have to say it's not
Yeah, I
technical.
love it. I mean, if you had to be predictive, right, because there will be less Bitcoin in 2024, I think you said, right, that'll be being brought to market. If you're an economist or even understand supply and demand, right, if
Mm-hmm,
supply gets smaller, demand will get greater. The
mm-hmm,
price effect of that was the price should go up. And if you really kind of get into the economics of that, it becomes a multiplier almost. And even though Bitcoin's at 30 some odd thousand, between 30 and 45,000, right? Who knows where it is today? I should probably just check so I could use an accurate number, but it changes every second. So it's kind of
mm-hmm.
pointless. Um, right. But that's almost like because it's going down by almost half, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
so then it should have a near two-time multiplier effect on the price. So if you're
Right.
sitting at 30,000, you bought it at 30,000 theoretically in 2024. Again, not financial advice, and I'm in no way bringing some sort of crypto crystal ball to this nonsense. But I mean, it should be
Right.
sitting in between the 50, 60, $70,000 range
I
theoretically.
mean, and it gets it again. They can go higher than that. I mean, so but theoretically, we're gonna stick with the theoretics of what you said because basically that's what it should do. As time goes on, as like you said, demand goes up, supply goes down. The nature of how that works is just gonna play out. And
Okay.
that's where, I say the price of Bitcoin is still early because this process of halvening and mining will take place all the way to 2140. So we're still in the first development years of Bitcoin. So no one alive right now will see the highest highs of Bitcoin. Not even your great grandchildren that will be born. So tell them to keep holding Bitcoin because that's what sound money looks like. It's supposed to look like over time.
I love it. Um, so you have some training that you said you're kind of updating. There's training out there. If we go to Bitcoin Vegan, there's a training course out there that folks can buy to really dive in and learn about Bitcoin. Maybe talk a little bit about the course and kind of what they'd understand by going through a course like that.
Okay. So with the course, you'll receive the crash course of it's like an intensive. You'll receive everything you need for that base level of Bitcoin on the best ways to buy. You'll understand the dynamics of the halvening. You go a little bit deeper into the mining aspects, but you'll walk away with the knowledge of Bitcoin of someone who's done their own quote unquote research for 4 years. So I lay it out in a way that makes sense. I start with why Bitcoin is created, what problems it solves out there in the real world, and even expose some of the ills of money that some people might not know, and then we just go into the ways of how to be properly decentralized in Bitcoin. Because a lot of people still they go for the on ramp talk or the third party talk, and I do as I always do separate what's real from what's noise. And by doing that, separate also what decentralized is from centralized exchanges, the best wallets to use, proper security metrics, how to look out for scams, excuse me, yeah, it's really built for someone who cares deeply about knowledge of what they're using before going out there and just buying crazy. I didn't create the course for the fly-by-night noobs. I actually created it for people who think analytically about Bitcoin or about life in general and place those pieces of the puzzle together. Because I know there's people out there, I learned about this, I heard this, but they might have hit that block between 2 and 4, that block number 3, and they just gave up on the project. So everything laid out in my course is a very high level beginner, a high beginner level of the ins and outs of Bitcoin. And afterwards, you should leave with at least what the average person would do: 4 years of research on YouTube and Google, and be able to start, taking it to the next level from there and applying it in your everyday life.
Awesome. Well, Justin, I love it. I mean, there's so much coolness here. Just dropping the knowledge and educating us a little bit on Bitcoin. For a deeper dive, Justin has the course out there. It's available on his website, bitcoinvegan.com.
And you know what? One more thing.
Yeah.
If your listeners send to any, so IG is Bitcoin Vegan Justin, Twitter is Bitcoin_vegan, uh, LinkedIn is Justin Rhedrick. Like I said, everything will be in the show notes. If you send me Tech Pro Bitcoin, you will receive a discount of up to $100 on my course, and also 10% if you want to do a deep dive intensive consultation as well. That's my
That's
gift to
awesome.
all of the tech pros out there. And
Awesome.
yeah, man, I appreciate it. This was one. I'm not saying it's over, but I just like the feeling of being able to talk to people where I don't have to always curb the language a bit based upon the tech, because it's like, hey, I'm techie, and it's like I understand that techie people, they might not be in it for the money. Like they might not be in it for all of that, but you're in it for a purpose. You're in it for drive, freedom. And we have those type of tech professionals out there who not turned their back, probably gave up on Bitcoin because something wasn't there. And those are geniuses. Those are genius minds, in my opinion, that could be used in the space, or they can use the space and magnify whatever they're doing. So yeah,
I love
those are
it.
the types of folks I love to talk to.
I'll just share one other flaw of me. I bought Bitcoin when it was about $840. I bought one Bitcoin, and I thought I was killing it when I sold it at $1,300. And I took my $700 or whatever, $600, and I was like, I just made $600. Had I held that one Bitcoin at
Hmm.
800 and some odd dollars, I would be sitting on 40 grand, which is like a down payment on a house or a really nice car. So there's another missed opportunity from the Tech Pro Unicorn that I'll
Oh
just
no, it's not
openly
miss. It's
share.
not miss. Because one thing I love teaching, man, I teach you how to keep it. I
There you
teach you how
go.
to keep your Bitcoin, and that's one of the most important things. Because in someone else's mind, if you listen to the 99% of the noise out there, they'll tell you, "Oh, it's too volatile. It's too volatile." It's only volatile if you're looking to sell within a year. But if you already have assets that you hold, like real estate, um,
Mhm.
hell, let's talk about this: life insurance. You can't cash out on life. It's only one way to cash out on life insurance. So if you are holding these long term, then you already have the gene to hold something long term. We just got to show you how to do it with Bitcoin.
Awesome. Well, Justin, thank you so much for dropping the knowledge, for offering the incentives for folks to get a discount to take part of the training. I want to again highlight there's that's just training around Bitcoin. To learn more about just Justin's really cool story of perseverance and personal growth. His book From Bars to Bitcoin, also available on his website, which just looks like such a great read. And what a cool story. So um, hopefully you're killing it out there, and I love that you're helping people as well. Just giving back, man. It's such a cool story. You've been such a cool guest. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us here on the podcast.
No problem. I appreciate you having me, man. I'll definitely be keeping in touch and sharing this podcast to anybody I can think of.
Awesome.